What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back. What's good? What's good? Welcome back to Tony Real, the God Chronicles. So, I have a great show for y'all today. And, y'all, I can't wait to show you. I can't wait to do this show because I got Brother God Energy coming in. And I just want to put his um, rest of his information right here. All right, so we should be good. Okay, we should be good. All right. Okay. So we should be good, y'all. We should be good. Waiting on the Brother God Energy to get in. The sooner Brother God Energy gets in, we will get started with the show. I appreciate you all for coming. All right, and there's Brother now. Okay. I'm trying to fix my green screen, y'all. It's doing whatever it wants. Okay. Should be good. I don't know. I'm just trying to, narrow it down so it won't be showing all the back of my crib. All right, so Brother God Energy is here. Everybody. Okay, so and I saw y'all out there waiting in the cut. Appreciate y'all waiting for us to start. All right, appreciate y'all. So let's get it. Brother God Energy, presenting to you, Brother God Energy. What's good, Brother God Energy?
What's up, family? Peace and light to the family.
Yeah, it's the flyer I was telling you about. I forgot to send it to you, but I got
I
the
saw, I saw it
yeah,
up there. I was sharing the promotion a little bit too. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Oh yeah, man. Of course, of course. So, Brother God Energy, man, I'd like
Mm-hmm.
to welcome you to the show, Tony Real the God Chronicles, man. And this will be, I think you said your first appearance on an actual platform doing the show, right?
Definitely, definitely, and thank you for hosting and having me up here and creating a space for us. You know what I mean, and a platform for us to share our knowledge, research, and our ideas. Because we need this as a people.
That's right, brother. We do. So as everybody can see, I'm representing. Y'all know when I have a guest, I gotta have a fly up. I gotta have a fly up. You know what I'm saying? So gotta represent, man. He coming to bring this knowledge. I hope the handful of you that are here are ready to hear what this brother has to say. Okay, and be sure to share the live. Everybody, share the live. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. All that good stuff. All right. So, Brother God Energy, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, man. And I'll be back. Oh, before we do that, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I got off track right there. I forgot, y'all. We got to do the intro. We're trying to make this some real TV here. No. Okay, so hey, y'all give me 30 seconds, man. 30 seconds. Y'all already know how this go. And we will start. Be right back. All right, all right. Welcome back, y'all. Y'all know how this goes. YouTube got to get they cut, so I gotta do these intros. I gotta do that shit. So you know what I mean. Those sleazy bastards. So, Brother God Energy, tell us today what we're gonna be talking about, man. I know y'all see the title, but I want y'all to hear from Brother God Energy, man.
That's right. Thank you. Well, I'm Brother God Energy. Let me introduce myself. You know, I've been doing this research for over 10 years. You know what I mean? Really citing these sources and applying a methodology to this research that most people don't apply. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of intellectual traps out there. There's misinformation, disinformation. You know what I mean? Mythology, fantasy. There's just a bunch of pieces of articles of information that you can run across that you might absorb into your intellectual filter, but you really have to have a credible system of discerning what is truth and what is not. You know what I mean? So over the years, I've definitely honed that filter, and I've been able to compile this knowledge based on credible sources and research from all over the place. You know what I mean? And I've done things in my community, giving presentations at the local library, at the Heritage Museum here. I'm a reoccurring speaker at a children's after school program here for at-risk youth. You know what I mean? That gives them skills to apply in carpentry and things like that, and in education to take them and progress towards a fulfilling life. So I'm out here in the community. You know, I'm applying this knowledge. I'm spreading it in multiple forms, and you know, it's about this archaeology. You know, what does the firsthand evidence say? You know, like I said about the misinformation and disinformation. Even when you're working with the facts, you know what I mean. You still have people that will take these things and apply their own rationale and philosophy to it, and you kind of can't take evidence and try to make it support your previous notion. You have to, even if you have a previous notion, you have to, you know, look at the evidence and see what the evidence is suggesting. And if it doesn't line up with your previous hypothesis, then maybe you the one that need to adjust a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's the archaeology, this firsthand evidence. What are they digging up out of the ground, and what does it look like? What are they saying? You know. But that's where we basing this research off.
Okay. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So because you say you do have a presentation, correct?
Yeah, I have a little bit of information here that I want to present.
Okay.
It's off of some of the publication that I do. You know, so aside from, you know, as I've given these presentations and lectures and things like that, and as the information is compiling, you know, I come to a realization that it is to be presented. You know, this information needs to be refined. So I've gone into, you know, small publishing, making posters and things like that, taking the time to, you know, get on the computer, create the graphic, use my own research, you know what I mean, that I've done personally, and put the information out in poster form and pamphlet form. I've written a few blogs and things like that. So, you know, putting out
Okay.
that putting out that publishing is where I'm at now, and that's kind of what I want to read off of.
All right. So we this brother has a presentation, y'all. So y'all know I'm gonna run the show a little differently because of that. So brother, since you have a presentation, you know, I appreciate you for getting together all of your information, man, for this presentation. So I'm pretty much going to give you the floor. And then after the presentation, we'll deliberate and I'll ask you some questions. So I really want to go ahead and get into this. But I do want to ask you one question. Can you explain to the audience, you know, that what is Black archaeology?
Okay, so this Black archaeology is based off of, like I said, this firsthand evidence, right? And what comes up with this firsthand evidence, it's not just the archaeology, it's the other supporting sciences that confirm what the archaeology suggests, right? So when you get a piece of archaeology, you may find an ancient piece of coinage, right? And the study of coinage is known as numismatics, right? So you study ancient coins and how they were minted, what they were minted out of, but also the images and imagery depicted on there. You know what I'm saying? And when you find these coins, a lot of ancient coins, ancient pottery, they do depict a specific, very specific ethnic group. You know, with phenotypes that are very specific. And then you get into the linguistics, right? And the anthropology and the history of trade in these different kingdoms. And the story starts to become very, very clear on who these people were, what type of connections they had to other ancient civilizations, right? And you get a picture of what ethnic groups these people belong to. And they definitely do a number on us in history by trying to write us out of the history books, and they have to do a very hard job. And oftentimes they can't write us out of the history books. They actually have to zigzag past our history, right? So they'll mention ancient Kush in the social studies books. They just teach right past that. They gloss right over it. So they don't teach you about the ancient Nubian Nile Valley civilization of Kush in these schools. And that's just one example. So this Black archaeology, right, is re-examining the archaeological evidence from our eyes, that we now have the access to get a hold of these things through the internet, through different forms of media, right? They're more easily accessible to us because our income has gone up. We can now travel and view these things. We can purchase the books that hold this information now. So we are being exposed, right, to a larger body of knowledge as a group of peoples here that we haven't been before. And the evidence is shocking, right? Shocking in the sense that what had to have been done to block this information from coming out. And it's called a knowledge filter.
Okay, you say it's called the what, brother?
A knowledge filter.
Knowledge
Meaning,
filter, like a
yeah,
chronology, like a chronology.
a knowledge filter, meaning they filter out what information gets to become public,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
certain things they keep quiet.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Hey, brother, I told you last time, if I'm not, if I don't know, I'm on, hey, what do you mean?
Oh, yeah. I
Hey,
welcome
hey,
that. I
y'all.
definitely welcome that.
Oh,
It
of course,
helps.
of course. So, I hope y'all have, I hope y'all enjoyed that bit of a crash course on what is going to be discussed today. This is going to be an excellent show. This brother has a presentation. I know y'all not really used to that, but this is professionalism at its finest. And this is a young brother. This is a young brother. Me and him around the same age. You know what I'm saying? And this brother is very, very articulate, man. He's a very smart man. So y'all listen up, man. All right. And I want to do one thing before we start. Y'all know I got to do it, but you're going to be seeing it all through the show anyway. Okay. If you would like to be a guest on the show, man, hit me up, man. I'm TonyReal0044 at gmail.com for a live screening or a phone screening. Makes no difference to me, whichever one you're comfortable with. Also, download the Bigo app if you would like to get more in depth with Brother God Energy. Follow him. His name is God Energy, and follow me as well, Tony Real God. All right. If you want to get more in depth with the information or talk to this brother personally on the Bigo app, you can do that. So he's not hard to reach. All right. Now, maybe if he on there, but if he ain't on there, then you got to wait till you get on there. So, but if you want some information, man, you want to hear this brother speak, man, I'm telling you, man, download the Bigo app, follow this brother, and when he go live, trust me, you don't want to miss that. Get your ass in there. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the show. And also, one more thing: if you fuck with your boy like that, donate today to support the channel. Hashtag Big Tony Man. You see it on the screen. All right, fuck with your boy. All right. All right. So, Brother God Energy, let's go with your presentation. And brother, I can't wait to hear about this. You know what I'm saying? This Black archaeology, man. That's the title of the show, Black Archaeology. What's good, brother J Mo? What's good? What's good? Appreciate you coming, brother. So let us know about Black archaeology, man, and these, and these informational filters, about us. Let us know, man. Hopefully we can get a little bit of chronology too. A little bit of that. You know what I'm saying? All right. So I'm gonna let this brother go ahead and go. Y'all listen up, man. This brother about to go in, enjoy the presentation, and I will be back after the presentation, y'all. Y'all will see Tony later. All right, brother, you have the floor. Let's get it.
Thank you. So, and we're not going to shy away from this term blackness or this identity of blackness, right? This is very much dealing with Black archaeology, and that term of that being, a touchy subject as an identity of ours, or something that an oppressor has imposed on us, right? A foreign negative concept that an oppressor has imposed on us as a people, that term black. That's just not true, right? And you can find many references through history where great civilizations in history actually self-referenced as black, right? They owned this term as an endonym, right? An endonym is a name that you call yourself. An exonym is a name that others call you, right? So in the historical record, right, and as a part of this knowledge filter, right, this is one of those tricks of the knowledge filter. They present history to you with the characters having exonyms, meaning names others imposed on them, but not the endonyms. So, like we know Egypt, right? The term Egypt and Egyptian, that's an exonym, right? Meaning that's an anglicized version of a Romanized Greek word, right? So, what did the Egyptians call themselves? The Egyptians called that place Kemet, right? They were the Kemetu, the people of the black land, right? So there you go with that blackness, right? And we know the Kemet land spawned alchemy, right? Of the black land, that art of the black land, still encompassing that blackness. And then alchemy gave you chemistry, right? So there's a lot of respect that belongs on the name of blackness, the legacy of the black land that we love so much called Egypt. But Egypt wasn't the only foundational civilization that owned that term blackness, right? The Sumerians, again, the word Sumeria, this is an exonym, right? This is a name that a foreign modern scholar put on these people based off of an Assyrian term for these people, right? But the Sumerians did not call themselves Sumerians. They called themselves Sagiga, right? What does Sagiga mean? Black-headed ones. So, in the historical record, the two most ancient civilizations, right? The two civilizations competing for the title of most ancient, both of them self-referenced as black. One family, you know what I mean? But then after the Sumerians, right? After the Ubaid period in Sumeria, and after the Akkadian period of Sumeria, right? You get the Assyrians, right? This culture, this great conquering culture, the Assyrians that we learn about in history, that also happens to be an exonym. The Assyrians called themselves Salmat Kakadi, right? Which means black-headed ones. So we have the Egyptians, the Sumerians, and the Assyrians all self-referencing as black. But if you take it farther, right, to the furthest great ancient river valley that we can think of, right, from starting in Africa, from starting with those black Kemetu, all the way in China, right? The very first Chinese were known as the Li Min. Guess what Li Min means? Black-headed ones. So the foundation of antiquity, right, were built on these ancient civilizations that all embraced and self-referenced as black, from the Kemetu to the Sagiga to the South Makakadi to the Li Min, right? And I'm sure if you think about it, you can think of indigenous, maybe Native American tribes, right, that self-referenced as black. If you do your European history, right, there were Viking tribes and Celtic tribes that self-referenced as black and self-referenced as white, to where one tribe would be the black version and one tribe would be the white version, like the White Hawks or the Black Hawks. So this term is indigenous. This identity is indigenous. And this is the archaeology that we're bringing out. The archaeology of these people who self-referenced as black, right? So black archaeology just isn't about identifying the blackness in this history, in this archaeology, but it's about the archaeology done on civilizations and peoples who proclaimed and named themselves Black, right? So it's a dual term and it's all encompassing. And there was most definitely a familial relation to these peoples, right? These people did exchange ideas, right? There are no walls that make these physical borders. So people travel, right? And that's in the archaeological record. The sharing of ideas and spiritual systems and culture, the same motifs, right? These images that represent the spiritual system of a people's are called motifs. These images that encode a tradition and a teaching and a mythology behind them, these are motifs. The same motifs used in the ancient world in this continent are used all the way through from country to country, all the way over to Asia. So from America to Africa to Asia, the same spiritual motifs are being used. And that's because these people had spread from the same ancient family, right? This out of Africa reality, right? And certain spiritual teachings and practices that began prehistory, right? With the sub-Saharan African pastoralists. So certain teachings and mythologies and spiritual systems were already encoded in the tradition of the African structure of society before these peoples spread out and became the Sumerians, before they spread out and became the Indus Valley civilization and China and the Olmecs and the Greeks, right? And this is what the archaeological record supports and tells us. And it's not just archaeology, the linguistics says it, right? The anthropologists are saying it, right? The people that study theology are saying it. So this is what's not spoon-fed to you. This is what gets trapped in that knowledge filter, right? Because of those that mean to profiteer off of you in an economic way, right? Not to fulfill you in an intellectual way to liberate you. These people do this just as a means for capital gain, right? Educate you just enough to run the machines. Educate you just enough to be loyal to the idea of the country. That's abusing you. So let's get into this information that's going to liberate us, right? First piece of archaeology I want to show you guys, right? These are the Phoenicians. These are the people that lived in the Levant. This is the Holy Land, right? This is what the people of Israel would look like. The people of Judah would look like. This is what the people of Moab, Iman, would look like, right? This is what the people of Syria looked like. Those ancient Phoenicians. This is what the archaeology shows, right? That's why it's so important to see these images. We have to see ourselves in history. We've seen so many statues and paintings of people that are not like us and are being told that all of world history and achievement is ascribed to people other than ourselves. And it's just not true, right? So it says here, Sir Arthur Keith, Scottish anatomist. This is a person trained in the study of anatomy, of the human physiology, right? This man is trained to know what people look like, right? So this is a Scottish anatomist, Sir Arthur Keith, and anthropologist. He's a professor and conservator of the Hunterian Museum of Anthropological Archaeology, right? So this man has merit. This man is a source of authority, and he's trained in the field to speak on this exact topic of what people look like. And he gave the first authoritative account of the ethnic identity of the Israelites, and they were originally Black African. And this was stated to the Congress of Prehistoric Sciences, right? He used osteological analysis and gave scientific backing to his findings, that they had classical West African features and dolichocephalic skull indexes. And the dolichocephalic science is the study of cranial shapes, right? The physiology is very important. You can tell different ethnic groups of people and races of people by their skull shape, by the nasal cavity, right? By their stature. And people that are anatomists and trained in this science have the education to put these pieces together, to know these things, right? And the skull index, that dolichocephalic skull index, is one of the most telltale signs of what group you're dealing with. And the African person, the Black African, has a very distinct skull shape. So you know it just like that, right? There's no question. The anatomists, they know it just like that. Because the African skull is longer from front to back than it is from side to side, right? So these are things that they look for when they uncover graves and they uncover dead people that were wounded either from hunting, some sort of tragic accident, or from warfare, right? So this gave the first authoritative account, right, to the Congress of Prehistoric Sciences. So this has been put down, this knowledge, this information, this realization. They know who these people are, right? They know that we've migrated out of Africa. They'll tell you that that the human family migrated out of Africa. Just when education and science and progressive things started to happen, there were no Africans to be found. No. That makes no sense whatsoever, right? So the reason why I started with the Levant, right, with Israel, Judah, in the Palestine, Syria area, because when you come out of Africa, right past Egypt, you get the Sinai Peninsula, then this area. So this is going to go on a travel path from closest to Africa and expanding out, right? We're going to see. So right outside of Africa in the Levant, it's documented by Sir Arthur Keith, the Scottish anatomist. These were Black people. Next, a little further over in the Sumerian Iraq region, right? The Mediterranean region, the land between the two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates, right? The broad nose, the full lips. What is said about these people? Sir Henry Creswick Rawlinson of the British East India Company, politician, Oriental historian, and linguist. See what he said? Deciphered the cuneiform script. This is one of the most authoritative sources you can get, right? They tell you about the cuneiform script. They tell you what some things might say, how it might be the oldest writing. It's competing against Egypt and the hieroglyphics. Never tell you who deciphered it or what he said about his decipherment. Let's see what happens. He deciphered the cuneiform script using two African languages, one being Cushitic, right? And was sure that the ancient Nubians and Puntites founded Mesopotamian civilization. He made it clear that the people of Akkad and Sumer were what? Black or Negro. And this is how we know that they self-referenced as Sagiga, right? Once you deciphered the language, you can read that they called themselves Sagiga, black-headed ones. Of course he's going to determine that, right? So he also used African languages, right? The Cushitic language he used, it was Oromo specifically, right? Out of a Nile Valley language, Oromo specifically was used to decipher cuneiform. Why don't they tell you this? Why don't they plaster that, right? We wouldn't think that we were half evolved, half monkeys if you would tell us we founded Sumeria. So I think the motive behind this knowledge filter and keeping Sir Arthur Keith's findings and keeping Sir Henry Rawlinson's findings away from us is to support the false idea, the false science, the false reality, a pseudo reality, a fiction that we are inferior, less evolved half monkeys that contributed nothing. Seems like we contributed a whole lot so far, right? So let's take a pause here and see an external source's view on the peopling of Mesopotamia. Let's go to the Bible, right? The Bible names this character Nimrod, and says Nimrod is the son of Cush. Let's pause there. What is Cush? Cush is the ancient African civilization, right? Cush on the Nile Valley. That's Nubia, right? Parent civilization to the Egyptians. So the Bible says Nimrod is the son of Cush, right? So we know Nimrod has this Cushite origin. But what it says that Nimrod migrates to the Tigris and Euphrates region. And he actually founds Nineveh, Calneh, right? Babel, the entirety of Sumeria, right? The Bible gives credit to Nimrod, this of Cushite origin, to colonizing the entirety of Sumeria, the entirety of Mesopotamia. Well, that seems to correlate exactly and confirm exactly what Sir Henry Creswick Rawlinson said, the man who deciphered cuneiform, right? And going along with this, the Bible says Nimrod of Cushite origin found in Mesopotamia. Sir Henry Rawlinson had to use a Cushite language to decipher the Mesopotamian writing system. So the scholastics matches up. The scholastics matches this Nubian origin, this Cushite African origin. We're not combining this evidence, right? Let's take another source. So far we have the scholastics with Sir Henry Rawlinson, the man who deciphered cuneiform. He's stating that Nile Valley Africans colonized Mesopotamia. Then we have the Bible, who says that Nimrod, son of Cush, colonized Mesopotamia, right? Let's see what Herodotus says. Osiris, being come to the borders of Ethiopia, raised high banks on either side of the river, lest in the time of inundation it should overflow the country, and it would be more than convenient, and make it marshy and boggy. And he made floodgates to let the water in by degrees as far as was necessary, right? So this is talking about the agricultural innovation, right? And the engineering that went along into taming these river valleys. This is important because the first ancient civilizations arose on river valleys, right? So this goes into the migrating, colonizing theme and science here, right? So thence he passed through Arabia, bordering upon the Red Sea, as far as India. So on this travel path through Arabia into India, the place that you go through is Mesopotamia, right? On this path from Nubia, from the Nile Valley to the east, through the Middle East, through the Levant, like Sir Arthur Keith said, and through Mesopotamia, like Sir Henry Rawlinson said. Now Herodotus is telling us that people of the Nile Valley took that same travel path eastward, right? To the Red Sea as far as Arabia and the utmost coast that was inhabited. And he built likewise many cities in India, one of which he called Niza, willing to have remembrance of that in Egypt, where he was brought up. And he planted ivy, which grows and remains here only of all places in India. So these are three different sources, separated by time and different civilizations. These aren't three Roman sources, right? All reconfirming one propaganda. This is the Bible written in this time era by this culture, saying that the Nile Valley populated the East, populated Mesopotamia, right? You have Sir Arthur Keith saying that the first people of the Levant were black. You have Sir Henry Creswick Rawlinson saying that the first people of Mesopotamia were colonizers from the Nile Valley, supporting what the Bible says. And now you have Herodotus saying the same thing, that Nile Valley civilization traveled through Arabia, right, past Mesopotamia into as far as India, colonizing. This is how integral and important the Black story is. This is Black archaeology, right? We're going to move on a little further, right? Right on the other side of Mesopotamia, right? We have the citation from B.B. Law, right? The same group of peoples, right? These are the black people of Iran and Persia. And the Egyptian winged sun disk is above their heads, those sphinxes, right? So the iconography, these motifs hold similar. As I'm talking about this travel path, we are now in Iran, right? And they are depicting sphinxes, right? Like the most famous sphinx in the world in Egypt. And they are depicting the Egyptian winged sun disk atop, right? So what is the citation here? B.B. Law, Indian archaeologist and Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. This is another authoritative source, right? Look at the authority this man has. He's the Director General of Archaeological Survey of the entire India, right? He's the director of the Indian Institute of Advanced Study. And he concluded, right, that the Dravidians, these are the peoples that settled Iran, that settled India, right? These people of Sumeria. These people are called Dravidians. That's why they have longer hair, right? The African phenotype is not just the 9 ethers. It's not just curly, kinky, right? The African phenotype is also straight, curly, wavy hair as well. Blonde hair, blue eyes, all of these are African phenotypes. Some of the oldest.
Oh, brother God Angel, I don't mean to interrupt you, brother.
Yes, sir.
I just want to hit. I don't know where that sound coming from, but I just want to ask you, when you said the nine ether, you know what I mean? I was told that the 9 ether that meant your inferno, your energy that makes you a source of purity. Is that true, brother?
Right. See, there's a philosophy built behind that teaching, right? Mm-hmm. And there's some correlation with science, right, with the genetics and the strands of DNA, right, and the 9 being represented in certain sequencing. But that's about as concrete as it goes. Everything else, are systems and wisdoms and truth-isms that we codify for a movement. And it's expressed with the hair as well, the spiraling of the hair. The 9 ethers is also referred to as the expression of our hair spiraling and curling in that way. You know what I mean? But these
does it also mean that doesn't it also mean that we're melanated?
It's associated with the melanin, right? But not all melanated people have that strong curly hair. So we've become very fixated with hairism, whether you're weaving it, whether you're dyeing it, whether you're putting lye in it and straightening it. We've used hair as an association for culture, right? And the European has caused so much stigmatization with stereotypes. We look for these same stereotypes. So nappy headed, you know what I'm saying? We have these stereotypes amongst ourselves and we codify certain things. But I wanted to bring out this documentation that the Black family and the African family is larger than the stereotype of nappy headed Negroes that are half naked.
Okay, brother. Thank you for answering my question.
Yes.
Go ahead and continue, brother.
Thank you. So B.B. Lau concluded that these Dravidians, right, were descendants of C group Nubians, right? So this family that migrated east, we're beginning to see that this was a very East African, Nile Valley centered migration, that a large amount of people from East Africa, largely the Nile Valley area, migrated and left Africa and went east, right? So here are the anatomists and the anthropologists bringing out that information, right? So he concluded that the Dravidians were descended from C group Nubians, right? Given the fact that both groups used the black and red ware pottery, common burial complexes, and incorporated megaliths and circular rock enclosures, and a common type of rock cut sepulcher, meaning they're talking about the way they buried themselves was the same. The type of pottery they used to take these goods from the Nile Valley into these areas, these black and red ware pottery shards, right? And BB Lal has traced these black and red, and this is a Nubian construction, a Nubian industry. The black and red ware pottery was a Nubian industry, right? So BB Lal has traced his ancestors' archaeology and their pottery on their travel path back into the Nile Valley, that same travel path that Herodotus just told us about. So of course BB Lal, right, the Indian Director General of Archaeological Survey of the entire country of India, he finds these pottery shards that supports Herodotus's exact migration pattern. So this evidence, it correlates, right, through time immemorial, whether BB Lal is discovering the pottery shards, right, in the 21st century, or whether Herodotus is saying it back in the 3rd and 4th century, right? All of this information still correlates and holds true. So the way these people were burying themselves remained the same all the way from out of Nubia. And this burial and sense of the afterlife, again, is connected to the spirituality, right? So we are still on this theme of the spreading of motifs and ideas and concepts with the spread of people, as they are tracing the dolichocephalic indexes, right? As we're uncovering these people had the same cranial structure, as they're deciphering the language, saying, oh, they're speaking Cushitic languages. You're also seeing they're burying themselves the same way, still using the Egyptian winged sun disk as a spiritual motif above these sphinxes, right? I don't know if you can see it that well, but that's the Egyptian winged sun disk above those sphinxes. And this is all the way in Iran now, right? So, right, KP Arvanan, right, Vice Chancellor. Hold on, let me show you the archaeology, right? You see those features. These are classical African Dravidian features, broad nose, right, full lips. You see the nappy curls of the Buddha before you get the dreads. Everyone has been, they call this the ugly phase. When you get your hair locked, they call this the ugly phase, right? If you want to put it in modern slang terms, before your locks start growing in. So you see the elongated ears. We know what this culture is. The only thing he's missing is a disc in his lip. We know what this is, right? KP Advanan, Vice Chancellor of the Manumaniam Sundanar University, right? And first Vice Chancellor of the Tamil University of Thunjavur, has illustrated that Africans and Dravidians share many physical similarities, including skull size and shape. That's that dolichocephalic index, right? We're back to that head, flat, broad noses, stature, and blood type, right? So that's the new thing people like to get into. What does the genetics say? Well, they share the same blood type. So this is down to the genetic analysis that these people were of an African descent, right? Like BB Lal just said, they were of Nubian origin, right? So KP Arvanan, when he does this genetic analysis and finds the blood type, it's going to correlate with this information and historical research that BB Lal has done, that Herodotus has stated, that Sir Henry Rawlinson stated. These people were of a Nile Valley Nubian Cushitic origin, right? And Dravidians and Niger-Congo speakers can both trace their descent back to C group Nubians. So from Niger-Congo speakers to the Nile Valley to India, this is a family that shares a genetic lineage, right? KP Arvanan, Vice Chancellor, said they share the same blood type, not just stature, not just flat, broad noses, not just the dolichocephalic indexes, also the blood type. So from India all the way to the Niger-Congo region, These people share a common ancestry with C group Nubians, the same C group Nubians that the Egyptians sprang forth from. So this speaks to the Africanness of Egypt, as if that's still in question. It's ridiculous. So of course you wouldn't know that they were of African origin in India, right? We had to go through the disrespect of reclaiming Egypt as a black land when they even called it a black land. Hello, right? This is the uphill battle we're fighting. This is the ridiculousness of what history tries to present us as our knowledge of self, as a history for us to grasp onto. It's insulting, right? So when we go a little further through India, past India, right, you get to Tibet in Southeast Asia, right? And in 1923, in his work, A Racial History of Man, right, a hallmark work in ethnology and anthropology, right, the study of ethnicities and the travels of people. This is a man whose field of study makes him authoritative on the topic of who looked like what in these times, what ethnicity these people were. He wrote a book on ethnology, right? And he's of Harvard University. He's an anthropologist and librarian of the Peabody Museum. Who is this scholar? Roland Dixon. And he noted in his work that the ancient people of Kemer, right? This is the oldest high civilization in Southeast Asia, the one that built Angkor Wat. If you're familiar with the Wats and Angkor, right? These are those people, the Kemer civilization. What does Roland Dixon note? He noted that the ancient Kemers were marked by distinct short stature, dark skin, curly or even frizzly hair, broad noses, and listen to this, thick negroid lips. The exact words he used, thick negroid lips, right? Adding frizzly broad, giving as much indication to who these people are as he can, right? This man is an ethnologist, trained in the study of different ethnicities, right? They know, they have a whole field of study for this. And this goes towards that knowledge filter. The information that the ethnologists put out, those dictate the parameters of what knowledge needs to be filtered down, right? And these people of Kemer, they used that Hindu system, right? The Buddhist system and culture was passed down to these people, right? So there's definitely a relation between the populations of India, Indus Valley civilization, and Southeast Asia, right? These people of Southeast Asia even used the Indian script for their spiritual language, right? In official documents, Sanskrit. So this passing down of information and cultures and motifs is very prevalent, very evident, right? But this handing down of information started all the way from Africa, right? Hold on one second. Pardon me, I just need to plug this in. Sorry, I don't want to disrupt the, right? So here, we have the Olmecs, right? First high civilization of the Americas in Levinta, right? Another river valley civilization. These are river valley civilizations. The Kemer, they're on the river valley as well, right? The Indus Valley civilization, that started on the river valley as well. Sumeria, river valley. Egypt, Nubia, river valley. These Olmecs all the way in America, they began on the river valley as well. So we have here historian, linguist, and translator Leo Werner, right, of Humboldt University of Berlin, was the first to connect Olmec writing to the Mandi people in volume 3 of his book, Africa and the Discovery of America. So this was put out in this man's 3rd volume of the book, right? He had already wrote 2 previous ones about Africa's discovery and colonizing of America. right? Before they can say Vikings possibly came to America, and before they say Muslims possibly came to America, those would have been black Muslims, of course, right? All these people that they try to substantiate coming to America before Columbus never mention the African, never put that out, right? Volume 3 of his book, Africa and the Discovery of America, noting that Mandi writing was analogous, right? Analogous, meaning same as, to the inscriptions found on the Tuxtla statuette from Mexico. But Leo Werner was not the only one, right? But he was the first one to make this association. That these people, these Olmecs, were writing Mandi, right? And Dr. Clyde Winters, one of our most noted, right, and accomplished Black researchers, scholars, right? His PhD in linguistics. He specialized in comparative linguistics, deciphered the Olmec writing using Mandi, following in the same likeness of Leo Werner. That these were Mandi people. Okay, we're going to use the Mandi language to decipher their script. And that's exactly what Dr. Clyde Ahmad Winters has done for us, right? I'm telling you the names of these statue heads. This information is available for us. A lot of the mystery is taken out of history. You just got to go to these credible sources, right? And these Olmecs, they used African practices. Their spiritual system, right, was akin to that of the Yoruba, right? They practiced facial scarification, just like West African tribes, and their astronomical science was identical to those practiced in the Mali and Nigeria regions today. All of this Africanness associated with the Olmecs gets swept right under the rug, right? This is a definite conspiratory effort. 100%. So when we talk about, we're not African, there were blacks here in America first. Yeah, they were. But even they migrated from Africa. Even their Africanness can be substantiated, right? That's why all of these people are building pyramids. I've just cited from the Holy Land, the Levant, right? Syria, Palestine, Israel, all the way to Southeast Asia and to the Americas, that these were black people. These were people related to Nile Valley Nubians, right? Speaking the language, using the language of Oromo to decipher Sumerian, using the Mandi language to decipher Olmec writing. This is important, that you're using African languages to decipher the scripts of civilizations miles away from Africa, right? You would put Sumeria as a competitor to African civilization. The Sumerians were Africans, speaking specifically Oromo. So this fact you can't zigzag past this, right? And I'm gonna bring you my last piece of publication, right? These are Greek coins. Hold on, here we go. Greek coins here. You can see what they look like, right? Archaeologist and professor emeritus of Egyptology at the University of Vienna, right? Manfred Bietek conducted extensive research in ancient Greek civilization and its connections to ancient Egypt. And Bietek unearthed evidence, right, as early as 7,000 BC that depicted the early people inhabiting Greece as African. So from 7,000 BC, the origins of this Greek culture is rooted in African migrants and African settlers, right? Showed you right here on the coinage. That's why this first early Greek civilization, right, located on the island of Crete, these people were known as the Minoans. And you can see all through their art that there are two different races depicted in their civilization: black people and white people, right? And this is where you get this term Slav from, because we were taking Central Asians, right, from the Baltic regions and the the Kazakh regions, right? Teaching these people, enslaving these people. And that's the context of them entering and receiving civilization, right? And in these Mediterranean cultures, these Black European Mediterranean cultures, like the Minoans, like the Etruscans, these are how these Slavs or slaves come in contact with this ancient wisdom that was circulated from Africa around the Mediterranean and brought eastward, like has been well documented, right? So these Minoans, they used hieroglyphics just like just like their ancient Black family. That's that linear A, right? They were involved in extensive trade all the way to their ancient Black cousins, the Egyptians, and to the Holy Land with their ancient Black cousins, like Sir Arthur Keith, the anatomist, stated, right? So this was trade in the Mediterranean world from those Black people in the Holy Land that Sir Arthur Keith mentioned, and those Black Egyptians, and these Black people of Greece that are documented here by Manfred Beatek, right? This was the Mediterranean trade and civilization that was held up. And then invaders come, right? So let's get into a little more archaeology with Greece and this European identity, right? We have here Hercules. That's Hercules wrestling the Nemean lion, right? If you're familiar with the
I was
story,
waiting on you to do it, brother.
right?
I was waiting on you to do it.
Soon as we get to Greece, this is where I'm going, right? Even in the mythos, and again, even right here, you see it's a different ethnicity of person here, right? Right, depicted right here, two different ethnicities: Hercules wrestling the lion, and this other guy. Completely different texture of hair, different skin tone on the vase, and then you have Hercules with his short curly hair and jet black, completely black skin. And this is 525 BC, right? The tradition of Hercules and who he is and what he's supposed to be depicted as is put down, right? This biracial origin or existence that was in Greece. But when you get to their most ancient statues, they still have their African braids. They still have the broad, flat noses that all of the anthropologists keep describing in the East, right? We see the Africoid features here. You can still see the Africoid features. This man has braids as well. But we can get a clearer picture, right? We can paint a clearer picture here. Because some may say that's just an oddity of pottery, right? The difference in the black skin and things like that, or the statuary, that's just interpretation. You're just interpreting that those are Africoid features. Okay, let's paint a clearer picture here and go from that vase in 525 BC, and let's fast forward 600 years to the now Roman culture in 70 AD and see what they are painting Hercules as. Right? This nude man here is Hercules. Hercules. And again, you see the different ethnicities represented, a clear representation of this tapestry of ethnic existence in the early Greco-Roman world. But, right, like Manfred Beatek stated, this origin from 7,000 years ago started off with this man, this phenotype, right? And it persists. That's why Hercules is the god. That's why the black man is the god, the deity, the origin. So this idea of the black god, that's not Afrocentric fervor. That's not us, romanticizing ourselves and creating some new idea out of oppression. One of the first people to proclaim black gods were Europeans. We can see right here the Romans proclaiming the black god Hercules. And then we can see here 600 years before that, the Greeks proclaiming the black god Hercules. So we don't have to be squeamish or anything about owning the identity black. We don't have to be squeamish about supporting the idea of a black god. All of that is historically backed. All of that can be historically substantiated. And actually us drifting away from that is us acting outside of the historical precedent. It's us that are being weird by being squeamish about the black identity. It's us that are being weird about being squeamish about the concept of a black god. Because as I just documented, right? That's what the ancient world was built on and founded on, right? So I'm going to conclude the information and the presentation right now, right? Thank you everyone for listening and tuning in. I hope you caught these correlations that I've made, right? And can appreciate the significance and authority of these sources, right? The anatomists, the ethnologists, the linguists, the translators, all of these people trained to have these opinions, all of these people who have studied what is required to study to make these distinctions and decisions are all saying the same thing, from America to Greece to Arabia to the Levant, right? The Mesopotamian area, Southeast Asia. They're all saying that these people were broad-nosed, full-lipped, curly-haired, Negroid people, black people, Africoid people, continuing the same burial systems, right? The way they buried themselves, everything. So thank you, Brother Tony, for giving me the opportunity to give that overview, right? That's just an overview. There are supporting details for each of these different cultures and civilizations that I mentioned. Hopefully we'll get into that in the future, but thank you, Brother Tony, for letting me go through that little dissertation.
You're welcome, brother. You're welcome. You're welcome. That was awesome. That was awesome. I'm sitting there listening, and I'm like, I was eating some crackers.
Your mom, anybody.
This is like a movie. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, because I look at information as what I'm saying, like as an energy source. You know what I mean? And I look at it as like I'm feeling, my brain is being filled with more and more information and more things that I should continue to study, man. So I love information, man. You know what I'm saying? It's it's very exciting to me. So I want to say this. You said that they're still doing all the traditional things like we were doing back then. The burial things, right? The burial situations.
Right.
So you are right about that, because even in the funeral, it's how they have to still prepare the body. Like everything that they do when they prepare the body, put them in the coffin, even though they don't wrap them, it's still the same indication of the same type of burials. They just switched it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the embalming process.
Yeah.
Having your hands like this,
mm-hmm.
you can see the exact correlation.
Mm-hmm.
And not giving credit, it speaks to how much they are willing to just wash away and whitewash. Something as simple as that. You can't give the credit back, and then God forbid you find out who these people were.
And also, on the wall, I think that's in Egypt, either in Egypt or I got it written down. I got so many notes over here. But on the wall, how you have the hieroglyph photos, the pictures of the Egyptians, how they've been, scratched out and colored white, as if they were Egyptians.
Yes. People need to know that these people are literally washing the color off of the pyramids and off of the left behind artifacts and the ruins in ancient Egypt. when they say they're going to do restorations, these people are literally whitenizing the ancient artifacts. That itself, that should be a crime. How there are war crimes, those should be counted as crimes as well. But their entire presentation of history to us is criminal.
Yeah,
so it can validate the crimes they commit against us, right?
Yeah.
They use one crime to validate the next crime, all at our expense. And it's really crazy.
Yeah, that should be a crime. And those knuckleheads, need to be locked up for that. They're literally taking our history and putting themselves in the place of it. There were no, and y'all know I'm gonna say it. There were no white people in Egypt people. Okay, I just want to let y'all know there were no pale faces in Egypt. It was nothing but us. Okay, they came later, way later.
Yeah,
there were no white people in Egypt. So what'd you say, brother?
They came to Egypt as people who were learning from the Egyptians, and then they invaded.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
They wanted to learn. Now, see, that's another thing. They wanted to learn us first before they took what belongs to us, what's rightfully ours. And a lot of our artifacts and a lot of our documents and scrolls are scattered all over the European continent. They've taken our stuff and they perverted it. They've changed it into a perverted history that's not factual. They've taken so many of our documents and rewritten them, rewrote them. I'm like these people are insanely crazy.
They extract the knowledge. They extract that ancient knowledge and then present it to the modern world as if it's something new or something they've created, right? And I love this example that a lot of these universities and things that are doing the leading research and producing, the latest pharmaceuticals and things like that. They have Egyptology departments, large Egyptology departments. So you have access to this ancient botanical knowledge, to this ancient medical knowledge, to this ancient surgical knowledge. And you're deciphering it, and then you're putting out what you're calling new inventions, new innovations, and things like that.
Yeah, they have all, and they have all. Like, I wouldn't say all, because there are certain places that they couldn't get in Egypt because they couldn't get to a certain tomb or entrance that's beneath the Sphinx. And they use this little scanner device to scan the Sphinx and seeing that it was another place beneath the Sphinx. But for a long time, still to this day, they cannot figure out how to get in. And they scoured that Sphinx for an inch and they could not find it. I'm like, yeah, that's right. We need something real good from your ass. Because whatever's there wasn't meant to be tampered with or found.
No, you got to be of the culture. You know what I mean? And that's a good representation of what the structures we got to do to protect what we have and value.
No, you froze up, brother.
To manifest that.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, it froze up a little bit, brother.
Right?
Froze up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back.
So yeah, I think we should, as black and brown skin kings and queens, I think we should develop our own system where we can protect our history, from I'm gonna call them what they call them, poachers. I'm gonna call them history poachers. We need to develop our own system, man, to protect our history from this, so they can never, tamper with it again.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's exactly why I've undertaken this publication. You know what I mean? These pamphlets and pieces of documentation here is trying to institutionalize this information, right? To give us a means to protect this knowledge. I don't just have it sitting around in a workbook. I've been able to put it in a format to mass produce it. It exists digitally. You know what I mean? It exists physically, and then I still have the original notes. So the goal behind this and the movement I'm starting is Children of the Sun. I don't know if you noticed on the publication here, right? Children of the Sun. And it's to form to institutionalize this information, to institutionalize the lineage, the information, the heritage, right? Just like you said, because it's not just about the history. There was spiritual wisdom, right, that our ancient ancestors encoded and passed down. And just like we said that these universities have the ancient wisdom translated and put out their own version as if it's something new, that's exactly what religion did, right? So we have the nuts and bolts of this, and we don't have to use an oppressive vehicle, a vehicle that compromises our sense of self, that compromises our roots and our knowledge of self. We have the nuts and bolts, right? And it's the same nuts and bolts that oppressive vehicle was made out of. We can form our own structure. This is behind the metaphor of building, right? We can build because we have the tools, we have this raw material and this ancient structure laid down, this wisdom, right?
Real talk, man. And see, this is what I mean by unification as well, y'all. You see how this brother speaks. He speaks in very, has a lot of pride in his speech. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that we need to start doing with a lot of conviction. We need to stop being afraid of mentioning and speaking the facts, the truth. Okay? We need to start protecting our history. It's like protecting your own children. Now we got to protect our own damn identity. Ridiculous.
Oh, 100. 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. It's been under attack. Our identity is definitely something that needs to be protected. It does, because it's been attacked. We have to discover the identity and find a way to protect it and reinforce it. Because, and just like I said, with misinformation, disinformation, the same thing goes with the identity thing. We've been fed so much misinformation and disinformation to be pulled away from our true selves. It's really ridiculous. And that's another reason that, I'm very appreciative of my own work here, because I find myself being in a very anti-African climate and sentiment now in the Black community because of these things, so I do feel I'm definitely making an impact here with this work, or that work could make a definite impact, because that identity thing it's a hot topic, and it's a big root to how to affect us as a people. And this person that means to oppress us knows this. The Semitic, Asiatic Black man identity is being pushed heavily. It's well represented. You have the Hebrew Israelites pushing the Asiatic Semitic Black man. You got the Black Muslims in the Nation of Islam and the Moorish Science Temple pushing the Asiatic Abrahamic Semitic Black man thing. You know what I mean? You get this, and then a lot of that comes with anti-African, right? And even in these movements, they're latching onto the Native American, the Aboriginal identity, right? Anything except Africa. And we just documented here how Leo Werner proved and that these were Mandee speaking people, right? That the Native American Olmecs were Mandee speaking people. So even those Native Americans that you're trying to, use as an escapism from Africa, they started as Africans. So what's with the stigma here? We are trained to reject the very things that will benefit us and that are of us. You know what I mean? It's sad. It really is. So I don't think we should use these other religions as escapism, and we really got to get back in tune with the natural order of things.
That is so true, man. We need to come back. I always say we need to come back to ourselves and who we are. we were warriors, man. We were depicted as gods by the very Europeans that most of you are worshiping in that damn Bible. You know what I'm saying? So, which God y'all think they talking about?
Right.
Think about it. You know what I'm saying? So, I got a question, though, brother.
Hold on, before you get to your question, just like I substantiated, right, that these Native Americans even have African lineage. Like Sir Arthur Keith, the trained anatomist, said, these people in the Levant that would have been these Hebrews that you're talking about were African peoples, right? And just how these Hebrews say we are different from Africans because of our head shape, it was actually the exact head and skull analysis that led Sir Arthur Keith to the conclusion that those people in Israel were Africans because they had African-shaped skulls, just like we do. So you can't use the argument that we are not Africans, we are Hebrews because we have different shaped skulls, when the anatomist put out the information already saying that those Hebrews were Africans, those people living in Israel were Africans based on their skull indexes. So if you have a Hebrew skull, you have an African skull. So, we gotta do away with certain rhetoric and certain misinformation and disinformation.
My bad. That is true. Hold on a second. Let me try to fix this echo here. Okay, is that what that's fixed it? Oh no, it's still an echo. Somebody said in the comments they hear an echo. I guess my voice is doubling, and I hear it also in my headset. I don't know if I'm not sure where it's coming from. Everything is all correct, but okay. Sorry for the echo. Let me just get to this question, and then I'll let this brother speak here, and then if you're still here, you can come up and ask this brother a few questions, or if you like to speak to him. I got two questions, just two. Can you tell us who were, for the sake of specific information, can you tell us who were the C group Nubians?
Oh, okay. And I'm definitely glad you asked this. The C group Nubians, right, are the group of Nubians associated with starting the Kushite civilization. There were A group Nubians, B group Nubians, and C group Nubians, right? The civilization known as Kush, right? The state known as Kush. Kush was started by C group Nubians specifically. So the people we know as Dravidians, right? That's the black indigenous populations of India, those that are referred to as the untouchables in the Hindu caste system. These peoples have their ancestry with C group Nubians, right? So that's the importance of this. They are directly related to the people that formed the state of Kush, right? And Kush, that was the Nile Valley civilization that is documented to setting the standards, practices, and belief systems that Kemet later was built off of, and that the Kush, the early pre-dynastic and dynastic pharaohs of Egypt were already, standing pharaohs of Kush. So that's the relation there with C group Nubians and the Kushites. And like was documented, Niger Congo speakers also find their ancestry with C group Nubians. So you have these founders of Kush, and some of them stayed and formed Kush and interacted in the Nile Valley with Egypt and the Canaanites and fought off the Romans. But some of those C group Nubians went east into India. They went through Arabia, through Mesopotamia, and into India, right? Like Herodotus stated, like B.B. Lal stated, like K.P. Advanan stated, like the Bible stated with Nimrod, right? 4 different references supporting this C group Nubian migration east. But also, like was stated, these C group Nubians migrated west to also become Niger Congo speakers. So Niger Congo speakers and the Black population of India have a common ancestor in Nubia with these peoples that created Kush. And I can personally speak to this relationship between the Niger Congo Africans and India because my name, right, my real name, it just so happens to be popular in Nigeria and India. So even in the names, there's still this connection, right? And India was known as the Hindu Kush, right? Meaning it was the Eastern Kush, talking about this Kush, the African Kush. So because of the ancestry in this African Kush, that's the entire reason why that area in India is known as the Hindu Kush, the Hindu Nubia, right? Saying Hindu Kush is like saying Hindu Nubia. What? We have to get this. We have to get this correlation, right? This is how important, right, and foundational this area is in Nubia, right? We're going to go back to the Bible. The Bible states that from the Garden of Eden flowed a mighty river, and that river broke off into 4 headwaters. One of those headwaters was named Gihon, and Gihon meandered through the entire land of Cush. So the first nation named in the Bible isn't even Semitic, it's African. The first nation named in the Bible is this Cushite, Nubian, African Nile Valley civilization, right? And does a river meander through Cush? That's the Nile River, my brother. Yes. So we know that the Nile is Gihon. And the Bible specifically states that the origin of Gihon is where the Garden of Eden is. And we know where the origin of the Nile is. That's the Lake Victoria region of Africa. So the Bible specifically gives us geographic location so we can triangulate where the Garden of Eden is. It's at the source of Gihon. It's at the source of the Nile. That's the Lake Victoria region of Africa. So the Bible even gives this precedent and reference, right? Moses married a Cushite, right? In the Bible, it says his brother and sister spoke against him, for he had married a Cushite. Again with Cush again. Then Nimrod, the son of Cush, that established Nineveh, Calneh, Babel. He established all of Sumeria. Son of Cush, right? And Moses got his first revealing of his God when he was with his wife's tribe. Moses was with these Cushites when he first got his revealing of the Lord. So we have Moses, who was brought up by Egyptians, learned in all the ways of the Egyptian science and magic, all the alchemy, right? Then this man first receives his revelation amongst Cushites. So the anti-African sentiment of the Hebrew Israelites, of the Muslims, of Black Christians, those who follow the Bible, the anti-African sentiment that you get baffles me. Baffles me. Because Moses was raised by these Egyptian Africans. Then when he left the Egyptian Africans, he got his first revealing of the Lord from these Cushites. These Cushite Africans, all Nile Valley. So all of Moses's intellect, training, and spiritual revealing happens amongst and is attributed to Nile Valley Africans. We got to get this. And right, Taharka, the Cushite king, the Bible whoever's narrating the Bible is cheerleading for Taharka to save Israel from the Assyrians. And it says, march on, O archers, and ride on, O charioteers. So these Cushites are depicted as heroes, good guys, and people who provide a space for the spiritual revelation for Moses. But we never hear about Nubia in that light. We never hear about Cush in that light, that legacy, right? That these were the same people who colonized India. This is a great legacy here, a great legacy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some more research on that, man. That was, I mean, that was very informative, man. I did not know that they also had a hand in colonizing India.
Yes,
I didn't know
and
that.
that's what B.B. Lal stated, right? He's the director general for the entire archaeological survey of India.
Kush colonized,
Right. These C group Nubians, 100%. K.P. Arvanan stated it. Herodotus stated it. The Bible says it. So all of these sources are telling this, and these sources are separated by millennia, right? Herodotus has nothing to do with B.B. Lal of India, right? That's a Greek guy, 3rd century BC. This is B.B. Lal, an Indian Dravidian of the 21st century, saying this. And the correlation is the black and red ware pottery is still there to show the migration pattern, to validate Herodotus. So this is how you substantiate a point. This is how you combine different fields of study, research, and sciences to prove your point. You know, people, we got to get past these mythologies and, you know, gaining our information with a lack of methodology, right? And not being able to identify credible sources. You're going to look like a fool out here.
Yeah, that's true. So that was very well put together, brother. I mean, I'm really liking what I'm hearing. One more question, because I got some notes written here. I just want to ask you one more question, and then we'll move on. You said that in the beginning. I think it's Lyman or Lehman. It means black-headed ones.
Oh, Lehman.
Lehman.
That's in China. Yes, they were called the Lehman.
Black-headed ones. So, can you speak a little bit more on why they called us, you know, Lehman? Even though we were black-headed ones, why exactly?
So from Sumeria to Assyria, all the way over to China, right? These people called themselves Lehman, black-headed ones. Well, in China, the term was Lehman. In Assyria, the term was Salmat Kakadi, and in Sumeria, the term was Sagiga, right? So regardless of the language, you know, these people were trying to express, we are black-headed ones, we are black people, right? And these Dravidians, these are the peoples proclaiming this. These are the peoples who left Nubia and migrated east, right, through Mesopotamia and into India to become Buddha, the ones who had the straight curly hair, right, that other African phenotype. This large, and that's why we largely see Africa as a people who have curly hair, because the large population of straight-haired Africans migrated east, right? These Dravidians, these peoples who had their relation to C, who started off as C group Nubians. Dravidians started off as C group Nubians. And these are the peoples who migrated east and would become your Sumerians, your Assyrians, the people of Tibet and into China. And they still held this endonym, right? This inner circle name of black-headed ones. So this is where this comes from, this lineage of the black-headed ones. It's an ethnic family, right? Connected to these Dravidians, right? The peoples of Hindu Kush, of Hindu Nubia, so to speak, right? These were the peoples that would have been invaded by the Aryan, the incoming Aryan, those Indo-Iranian or white-skinned peoples who invaded India, who invaded Iran, who invaded Iraq and Mesopotamia. So this concept of the black-headed ones, This is largely the Dravidian Black identity. Those peoples who left Nubia, the C group Nubians that left. These are these Dravidians or black-headed ones.
All right, brother. I appreciate you giving me that. I done wrote down some more notes too. I'm gonna do some more research on that stuff. There's only so much. There's only so much I know about, the River Valley, and I think it was Sir Henry Rollins. I read a little bit about him. I read about Sir Arthur Keith. I also had a. That's why I asked the question about the Lehman. Because I've also seen that word in a book that I was reading that had been written and published in Shanghai, China. And I had went to the library and I was reading about, the different people that had come to the land and populated it and built a lot of the communities. And it talked about the Lehman people. And I was like, who's that? And then as I read on, it said the bold, the people of the black and the bold in the book.
Wow. See?
I was like, but that's why we said Lehman. I said, wait a minute. I read in the book that word.
You can't get away from that reality, that blackness. So even in my research, or even in the context that you came across it, still that association with the blackness, you know what I mean? And that's beautiful. And we really need to come across these different things and get out of the mythologies and the religions. It's bad. You miss out on the larger scope of who we are. You know, it's
you know what, brother? I also had discovered that the continent, that China has more of, like, they have a whole museum based on black history. Like a whole museum. It's like it's just nothing but about us. Like we were like warriors, and we were like generals, and like I was like, this is amazing. Like they really got respect for us. You know what I'm saying?
But they don't treat us like that.
I know. Right?
They'll profit off of those type of things, but there's a disconnect in the treatment. There's a disconnect in the, you know what I mean? But I'm glad you brought that. I'm glad you brought that up. That's powerful right there, you know. And it's funny. It's the Shang, the second dynasty. You know, the first historically substantiated civilization and empire in China was the Shang, right? The Zhou dynasty, the ones who conquered the Shang, described the Shang as being black with oily skin. So this documentation is there. You know what I mean? They have these artifacts. The documentation is there, but it's just, it points to the Afrocidal nature of all of these different places, meaning for us to be minorities or non-existent there, it tells the history and the story of how you came and committed genocide against us. That all over the globe, these different countries belong to these different looking peoples because they came and learned from us and then committed genocide against us. They treated us terribly. They treated us horribly. You know what I mean? That the entitlement and primacy was taken from us. And that's the word and theme I want to leave everyone with during this presentation is we substantiated African primacy across the globe tonight. And that's important. We own that. You don't have to come up with a pseudoscience to try to substantiate your supremacy, right? Or you don't have to perpetuate and make people convert to a religion that demands that you're the chosen people. Nope. Regardless of what race you are, what ethnicity you are, or if you existed in Herodotus's time, Black primacy is always what you're going to find in reality. When you look into the earth, when you look into the archaeological record and the historical record, Black primacy is always going to be there waiting for you to wipe away.
We were first.
We were first. Black primacy, our firstness amongst the world, the civilizations and nations, is well documented and substantial. It's irrefutable. our primacy is irrefutable.
Man, and you are right about that. I do apologize once again, y'all, for the echo. But if I start tampering with it, trying to fix it, it's going to mess up the quality of the show. So please endure it for a little while longer. So, all right, brother. I sure appreciate you bringing that Black archaeology, man. I mean, I've learned so much tonight. I even learned a little bit more about myself. You know what I'm saying? And so I really appreciate any information, you know what I'm saying, I get, man. You know what I'm saying? Once I leave here, I'm going to get on this computer and, you know, and try to hit that library Monday morning so I can get some more information. So, you know, I appreciate that, man.
That note taking and scribe work is important. You know, that should be part of the methodology, is taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So if anyone is watching, if you would like to come up and ask this brother any questions or have a conversation with this brother, you are welcome to do so. I just put the link in the chat. You are welcome to come up and do so. If not, we'll continue on and then we're going to get out of here. So while we wait for someone to respond, let's just you know, do a little deliberation, brother. So as far as we know, Black archaeology, you know, I'm going to call it, what I've learned today from you, brother, I am going to call it the chronology of Black archaeology. for myself, because like from the very beginning, it's always us. We were practically worshipped on the code, even though they were treating us like crap. They called us, they looked at us as gods, warriors, all the answers. They came to Egypt and saw the very place that we had built and thought that it was the most beautiful place in the world, and they had to have these sons of bitches. Excuse my language, man. But that was so wrong. You come and you learn. We invite you to our home. And then you take our home, like the bank taking your house, you don't pay your property taxes. Mm-hmm. You know, you come in our home and you take rightfully ours what we built, and you got the nerve to call it your own. How fucking insulting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know.
That reminds me of you know, the massacres that happened in all of the settlements that we had. Tulsa, Oklahoma is the most famous one, but there were over a dozen of those massacres that occurred just like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that theme of jealousy or enviousness that you were kind of speaking on with coming into our home and seeing what we have. You know, in the ancient times, that played out on a small scale here in America as well. And like Tulsa, Oklahoma, you know, we were thriving. And because we were doing this during the time of the World War, our neighbors in their European American communities, the men were gone, the economy was not good for them. So they lived in squalor while we had Tulsa, Oklahoma style cities right next to them with, you know, plumbing, doctors, lawyers, civil engineers, civil services, running buses, all being black. And then these people didn't even have running water. So they destroyed Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the other settlements like it all over this country, right? From New York to Boston, Chicago, all the way over to California, Tulsa, Oklahoma, all through the Midwest. This was going on. And it culminated in 1919, right? Which was known as the Red Summer. And it was called the Red Summer because of all the killing and red blood of ours that was being shed in all of these massacres. So it's that concept of jealousy and enviousness, and we're going to take and destroy you because of it. That's very real. And it's what's happening with hip hop, right? The same way you're letting Justin Bieber and Iggy Azalea and Kim Kardashian and DJ Khaled reshape and restructure, right? The hegemony of hip hop. That's exactly how it happens.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's a prime example on how they come in to a culture, to a civilization, learn everything they need to know about it, and then they use it and they take it away. They invade. They start confrontation. And you know what I don't like is how when around the time when it was just us in Egypt and Alexander the Fake came his ass over there, I'm trying to see this. They might have had their little swords and bow and arrows and all that, but we had spears and we had swords too. I'm trying to see how on earth do you let a foreign piece of crap walk into the throne room of the Pharaoh and kill him in front of everybody, and y'all not do a goddamn thing? What the hell? What's going on?
What it is too, before then, Egypt had already encountered upheaval and fighting off invasions and colonizers. The Greeks weren't the first ones. Right. You know what I mean? So the integrity and structure of the Egyptian society had already been compromised, had already been weakened. Also, this melanated family and these civilizations weren't as warlike as the Indo-Europeans that invaded. That was actually this person's claim to fame on the world stage. Being so warlike and barbaric and aggressive and destructive, more so than the melanated world had ever seen before. So, and you got to think, remember, I documented the original Greeks look like you and me. So the Alexander the Fake type of Greeks had to invade Greece first, right? Alexander and his type of people, the Hellenes, they had to conquer Greece first. And then they expanded that conquest to Egypt, where that original melanated Greek civilization came from. You know, they went back to the source, the motherland of that original Greek civilization. So by the time Alexander made it to Egypt, they were continuing and perfecting a system of conquest that they had initiated even in Greece first against those original Greeks. You know what I mean? So Egypt was already weakened by other invaders. And then these peoples were just bringing a new system of conquest and destruction that we just didn't do back then.
And you know what? That's really sad, though. And I kind of figured that because when I had first discovered this information, I was like, Egypt had to be probably, maybe weakened at some point because for that just to happen like that, something, you know what I'm saying? There was a lot of tyranny and war going on.
Egypt was not a warlike state, and Egypt relied heavily on mercenaries. So to speak to Egypt's fall is very unique to Egypt. You know what I mean? And Egypt itself had to use Nubian mercenaries, Nubian archers, the Magi. Those were the world famous Nubian archers. Pardon me, the world famous Nubian archers. They were known as the best bowmen in the world. They were considered the best bowmen in the world. So yes, Egypt was able to be conquered, but they never had a standing militaristic army like that. They had small families that were, held to continue the military tradition, right? And to become part of these larger mercenary forces, but they themselves were not a militaristic nation. And often they relied on the strength of the Nubians. And that's what you find, that their parent civilization, the Nubians, always had to save Egypt. And those Nubians had never been conquered. That's why we talk about Egypt, because people were able to conquer Egypt and people were able to influence and take the sauce from Egypt. They were never able to conquer Nubia, right? Alexander tried. He went down to Nubia, failed. He couldn't beat those world famous. Those world famous archers were never defeated.
I read about that. He couldn't mess with them.
Then the Romans conquered Egypt, right? A few hundred years later, they were taking Egyptian territories. What happened at that time? The Nubians were ruled by a queen, right? Because Nubia practiced a matriarchy at times as well. The Kendakes, the Candaces, right? Nubia was ruled by Queen Amanirenas. She led her Nubian troops. She led her Nubian troops into battle, right? To recapture the Egyptian lands that the Romans were conquering. So like Nubia, just like Nubia did in the Bible and saved the Israelites from Assyria, Nubia came to Egypt's rescue as well. What is this theme of Nubia coming to people's rescue? This unconquerable Nubia, even coming to the aid and rescue of other nations when they're being oppressed, right? So the Nubians, led by the Queen Amanirenas, fought against Rome and retook Egyptian lands, right? Cutting the head off of Caesar's statue and taking this head back to Nubia to sit at the foot of her throne, to symbolize her victory and dominance over these oppressors, these colonizers, these invaders, right? Protecting Egypt, her daughter's civilization. So this legacy has to put back in order. That's why they teach you about Cleopatra so much. First of all, she was half Greek anyway, so she was as light-skinned as me or even lighter. And then she slept with the Romans. She slept with the oppressor. So that's the image they want to give you. But they don't teach you about Queen Amanirenas, the strong ruler of her entire land, who led her troops personally into battle, defeating the Romans and cutting the head off the statue. So they teach you about the Egyptian queen that slept with the oppressor, but they don't teach you about the Nubian queen that fought and defeated them. So this influence of programming us on how to act and how to coon it, man, they take history and use that as the main tool for that manipulation. The knowledge filter is deep. They teach you about the half-white queen that slept with the oppressor, but they don't teach you about the queen that fought and won. Of Kush. So this Nubian
they don't teach you about the queen that whooped the Romans' ass. I know about that story too. Say, and I've been wanting to expose it, man. But you did it for me. Appreciate that. They don't know about that story. Say, man, y'all look that up. Real talk. She whooped their ass.
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, I like to, broaden my, my excitement for the, knowing that, even though she might have been, half Greek and all that, but that's okay. You know what I'm saying? She still tore the ass up. You know what I'm saying? She was still a sister. So brother, all right, I guess they changed their mind because somebody wanted to come up. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So anyway, brother, so the next time you come on the show, brother, I would really love for you to actually, do a presentation actually on this queen, defeating the Romans.
Well, my next step was to do Kush in general.
Okay.
Start with Kush, the C group Nubians, lay down the foundation. So then when we go to these other places, you can reference that foundation. You can see, yes, they're just still carrying on the tradition from the motherland. Yes, that they are still just taking the same culture and recreating it here, there. You know what I mean?
Right. I sure appreciate you coming, brother. This has been an excellent show, man. We might not have reached 2 hours, but we got damn good close. We got close. So look, y'all, if anyone would like to be a guest on the show, man, hit your boy up, TonyReal0044@gmail.com for a live stream or a phone stream, whichever one you're comfortable with. Also, download the Bigo app, all right, and follow Brother God Energy on the Bigo app to get more in depth with the information that he can provide and also teach you. if you're willing to listen. So don't forget, download the Vigo app and follow Brother God Energy and myself, Tony Real the God. Also, donate today to support the channel. It's up to you. That doesn't really matter what you decide to give. It's cool. We're gonna say that's so I can keep this going for y'all. You know what I mean? We gotta keep this going because we're not trying to stop y'all. You know what I mean? So donate today if you feel that's what you want to do. You know, it's up to you. So, brother, I would like to say, man, I appreciate you coming, man. You know what I'm saying? And this was a great experience, man. You know, I don't really have any more questions for you, but I do want to go ahead and do some research and do some little studying tonight on what I learned tonight as far as my notes and what we spoke about, man. And, you know, go ahead with your closing remarks, brother.
Thank you. I'm glad I left you with some things to research. I hope everyone else that sees this, you know, could take some valuable information from it. You know, I encourage everyone to take notes. If there's a term or peoples that you're not familiar with, write that down, and you know, you got your next little fun event for yourself on an intellectual side. You know what I mean? And I just want to thank you, Brother Tony Real, for providing this space for us. We need more spaces like this. You know, even in this digital space, as well as in the community, you know, we need more places that could serve as institutions for us to come together and circulate this type of knowledge, right? Become inspired, circulate ideas on how we could better ourselves and better our community, because that's really what this is about, right? I'm not doing this for my own self-aggrandizement. I'm doing this to inspire you, right? And to inspire you to feel connected to this family and to feel connected so you can feel responsible enough to try to do something, to empower you to make some sort of change in any way, whether it's talking about what you learned here, whether it's about asking questions about things you're unclear of or trying to get clarity on our situation. You know, everything helps. All conversation helps towards us understanding the situation we're in and what we may need to do, you know? So we don't have synagogues and mosques and these types of institutions, right? These institutions that other ethnicities and other groups of people have to, one, circulate and reinforce their history like we were doing here, but also plan and strategize on how to protect that community and take it forward into the future. And we need that same type of institution, right? Tony Real the God, this is a YouTube version of that institution, right? Children of the Sun, this is a local version of that type of institution. We need these institutions to protect ourselves, right? We don't have to feel ashamed like we are abandoning our white friend or our non-black friend, right? We don't have to forfeit us progressing as a community for your smile with your non-black friend. Okay, you're not offending your white friend by thinking black thoughts. You're not offending your white friend by trying to fix the ills of the black community. Okay, because if your white friend serves as a mouthpiece to muzzle you, then that's the negative effect they play. You know what I mean? That's how they harm us as a community, even though they're innocently just being your friend. Even though, you know what I mean? If they serve to muzzle you, if they serve to make you ashamed of solidarity, then that's the negative role they play on us as a community. Because solidarity is key right now. We don't have to feel racist, right? Just because we were abused by racism and the victims of racism doesn't mean we have to shy away from something that could benefit our solidarity. Because prejudice and discrimination is where the abuse comes in. Racism is about uniformity and solidarity. So we need to stop being so squeamish of owning the black identity. We need to stop being squeamish about African history. And we need to stop being squeamish about racism and solidarity, right? Peace and light, family. I'll leave you with that.
All right. Thank you, brother. And I just want to let y'all know before this brother goes, go to his YouTube channel. It's called God underscore energy. It's all capitalized, right, brother?
I believe so.
Okay, so God underscore energy, and subscribe to this brother's channel. All right. How many videos you say you had, brother?
I got 2 right now. It's a new channel, so we're getting this digital thing rolling. You know, we're gonna create this digital institution.
Gotcha. So y'all run them up. Run this brother up, man, and subscribe, man, and turn on your bell notifications, man. And run those views up on them videos too. Run them views up, man. Run them up, man. Support this brother. This brother has something to say. Okay. So next thing, I want to just say this to all you Christians. Stick around, brother. You want to see this. You don't want to see this. So, I want to say something to you, Christians. You have been doing so many things to the culture of our people. You blatantly put out a book that has no form of liberation for our people. No morality, no nobility. But you claim that it's the book that will save our lives. See, this is a shot thrown at y'all because, see, too many of you have sat there and used that book to pretty much change the minds and mentality of our people, believing that someone, an invisible entity, will be coming from the sky to save us all. You had us believe that for over 404,000, just thousands of years of our people being, enslaved. You had us believing if we worship the book that it would bring us salvation. You had us believe everything inside of the book, knowing the contradictions, the metaphoric, I'm going to call them the metaphoric appetizers that you gave us to just feed off of, which was bull crap. And the letters that were written by so many people in their different opinions. Solomon is one of them, and Paul as well. And you sit on your asses at the church every Sunday, which speaks in your Bible how your God doesn't dwell in any temple or any building. But okay, we'll go ahead and just rub that against you, see how you feel about that. And you sit here on your high horse, and you got your pastor sitting on the podium preaching the word when your very pastor knows the truth. As long as he's been preaching, as she's been preaching, knows the truth, but dare not to teach you exactly what the truth is. So I'm calling all Christians, all Bible thumping knuckleheads to come forth to this platform with the men and the women that I have with me that is willing to speak to you about your book and how it will not, cannot, and basically just will not liberate our people. And I'm going to speak that with a lot of authority and goddamn aggression. So this is for you. I made this video just for you. Shots fired, Christians. Shots fired.
You see the beauty of it, the inevitability. You rise only to fall.
What becomes of us? As you desire. You reap what you sow. You have heard of this.
Assemble the army.
As long as there are those that remember what was, there will always be those that are unable to accept what can be. They will resist.
Spartans! Prepare for glory!
Will they fight, sir?
You shall know soon enough. At my signal, unleash hell.
No retreat, no surrender. That is Spartan law. And by Spartan law, we will stand and fight and die.
What I'm about to do to your stubborn, annoying little planet, I'm gonna enjoy it. Very, very much.
Madness. This is Sparta!
Interesting.
This is exactly what I wanted. All of you against all of me. How can you possibly hope to stop me?
I am inevitable. You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
The will of your father.
That is destiny fulfilled.
Destiny fulfilled. As you can see, Christians, Bible thumpers, this is a very much so mental battle for the freedom, the mental freedom of our people. It is time, people, to rise up and become who we truly are. I really hope you enjoyed the Brother God energy and his presentation. But now, at this point, it's time for me to once again call out all the Christians and Bible thumpers all over the world. You cannot prove anything that you speak of in that book, but you call it the truth. Are you insane? You have committed the highest crime that anyone can commit, and that is destroying and lying about the very identity of the true kings and queens and gods of this world. The bell has been rung. The horn has been blown. Welcome to the mental fight and mental and physically energetic and what y'all call it spiritual war of the awakening of our people. See you soon, Christians, religious, whatever you want to call yourself. See all of you soon. Shots fired. Shots fired. And if you are willing to accept this offer to come on this platform and defend your book, to make a believer out of me and the people that are behind me, by all means, come on. Welcome to the war for the awakening of our people. and the actual liberation of our people. This your boy Tony with the God. I'm out, family. Holla at your boy.